Mark here from Rock and Load, and this afternoon we have something slightly different. We are joined by Swedish Synthwave act Priest. The guys are hitting the UK at the end of March here, start of April, for a quick run of dates. So make sure you check out the website priestnexus.com to check out availability of dates and tickets. I'm joined this afternoon by vocalist Mercury. How are you, sir?
Just fine, thank you. Nice to be on the show here, and looking forward to see you soon as well.
Yeah, so as we were just literally talking before we started there, the world is slowly but surely reopening. I'm sure you're dying to get back out on the road and do what you do.
It feels almost surreal. We managed to do some smaller shows in Sweden, Scandinavia, when it opened up a little small window late last year, but then it closed again. And then now this will be our first run of shows abroad, and we're really looking forward to come to the UK and Ireland very soon, and Ireland for the first time as well. So
cool. That's good to know. Good to know. And how was your lockdown experience? And since we're touching on it, how was that sort of period for you guys? What was Sweden like?
Cold, and they closed down, but we had some loose. We could go out in the pubs with some restrictions. Early closed down, but it went back and forth there, but we couldn't go out and have concerts and anything. So we stayed in the studio, recorded and writing new material. So now we have a bunch of new stuff that we just are waiting to record. And hopefully soon we can start playing for you as well.
Yeah. And you're born and raised in Sweden yourself, are you?
Yes.
And where were you born?
In Linköping. It's Swedish. It's mid-sized city in Sweden. So I'm born and raised in the woods outside there.
It looks like a beautiful country. I've never had the pleasure of visiting, but what is it like growing up in such a, I'd say, Scandinavian country first and foremost? It's quite different to most of the Western European countries.
Oh, it's cold winters, and me in the countryside, it was really at first it was just woods and a bunch of cabins. We only know the neighbors, but then we moved to a town with like 2,000 people in it, where I went to school, so everybody knows each other. So when you go and buy stuff at the store, you stay like 1 hour talking to different people and before you get back. So but yeah, it's friendly people and didn't have any problems. Then we went to the bigger city called Linköping and went to high school there, music school. Music schools is good because we got them for free back then. So it was like government paid, tax paid, so everybody paid for it, of course. But so that was good, and I had a good upbringing. I think very got and nice. I thought.
Just despite the visual images of the band, now you had a very normal upbringing.
Yeah, I think that you gotta have a contrast to what you know. I was quite bored as well, so I read a lot of comics and watched a lot of movies I shouldn't watch at that age. So maybe this is a continuation of the pop culture you were like fed with when you were little. So it's a chance to live out your dark dreams, so to speak, maybe.
For sure. Tell me about education in Sweden as a kid, because I was talking one time to another Swedish artist, Elin Larsson of the Blues Pills, and she was she was talking about just maybe one time about the emphasis on arts and creativity within Sweden, which maybe is something that lacks a little bit in the UK.
I wouldn't know. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about the UK. I'm not so I don't really know. The differences is so much, but we had opportunities to doors were open when we were younger because of education. You could start with your instrument for free and have a teacher once a week, which came out to your school, and you could learn instruments. mostly flute, clarinet. Yeah, I started with the clarinetto and stuff. And of course, you have the classes since like first grade. You have like painting and drawing studies when you're small, and you got a lot of choices, aesthetic programs in high school, which I went to. Like I did both go to arts and also music programs, and afterwards I went to art schools. So that cost money. You have to take loans for those afterwards, but it's felt very natural. If you are a creative person, you can you have the opportunities here. Like if you really want to do it, it's no barriers really but yourself. So that we're pretty spoiled with that here, I think. When you're so we should really be happy that we have it and really nurture it, which we try. I think most of us try to do.
Yeah, well, very good, very good. It's great to have the opportunity, as you say. Where was your sort of initial exposure to music, and what got you interested in the first place?
Both my parents were they met actually on a tour. So they touring around late 70s, and they decided with a lot of other musicians to move down from the Stockholm area to the woods. You call it the green wave here, like
hippies.
Yeah, bunch of hippies playing music in the woods, doing a lot of other stuff which we wouldn't know because we were kids back then. So music was probably heard it when I was my mom was pregnant with me or something. I heard the bass probably back then. So and music has been all around me since I was a kid. So and my sister is a musician as well. She's doing music as well, and just fell natural.
And what sort of instruments did your parents play?
My dad is keyboardist and pianist first and foremost, and my mom was a bass player.
Oh, really?
So they played in like reggae / funk bands early. They mixed it all up there in the late 70s, early 80s, and mixed it with pop music here in Sweden, at least. So it's some kind of progressive fusion-ish with some pop lyrics, some stuff like that.
And what was the? I'm actually funny. I was seeing a brief interview the other day with Yngwie Malmsteen, and he was just talking to Steve Vai about accessibility to stuff back in the 70s and 80s being very, very hard to get. There was like maybe one television channel, for example, and seeing music magazines would have been a rarity back in the day. So where was the music coming from, and where did you access it?
It was first with cassette tapes, and you went out buying it. Then I started to order music magazines home to the mailbox. I started quite late with that. I was more into comics, and so I ordered before internet. You ordered your comics from the US. You ordered it via a comic book store in Stockholm, which then sent out your titles once every 2 weeks. So it was like a little Christmas, But then music inevitably started to take over more and more. So it was and I had one other friend in the small town I was living in that was really into music. So he showed me a lot of stuff, and he was a couple of years older. So he showed me like Asian movies and new electronic bands. He was really into EBM and very obscure like Portion Control and stuff, really back then when I was probably only 12, 13, but he was like 16 or something. So I was at his place when he played his vinyls. So
he led you down the dark path then. And also into like dark ambient, you call it today, but back then it was like from the coal meat industry. It was a record label music store,
which was placed outside of Linköping actually. It really dark stuff, so exposed. It was hard to listen to in the beginning, but then I couldn't stop, so that I just continued. But I have him to thank a lot for. So thank you, Mats. It's, yeah.
And when did you actually start then wanting to perform?
It was not my. It was my choice, but there was a band in my hometown, the small town, which the bass player jumped off the band and they needed a new one, and there was not many people around, so I just said my mom have a bass at home, so I can just use her bass. And I came down to rehearsals, and they gave me a paper with A, D, with all the, and I just, what the fuck? So, and they just, he can't even take the notes. So I directly went to a guy that played bass, and he printed out the whole neck of a bass with all the notes, names were. So I said, just give me until next week, then I will know this. So then I probably learned too much more than you need to know, because you don't need to know every note on the whole neck, But then I just started to play with them for like 2 years, and then I started to play bass in other bands, and then I went to music school. So that was
And what was the music school journey like, and what was that environment like? What did you learn?
It was you learn a lot. You have a choir, so you learn like to sing, and you can choose your main instrument. Mine was bass, and you learn the basics of note, to how to play off the notes and read notes, chords, structures, and all the, what do you say, all the
theory
the theory. You don't remember everything, of course, but you go through it, and then you know what to. And then we also they were starting to have like more computers at school at that time, so you could start to learn the basics in Cubase. I knew since before, because my dad had a Atari 1040. I started to program on when I was younger. So, but then you had access to newer software at school as well, so you can learn to program.
And I'm assuming was it quite a regimented and disciplined way of learning in the music school?
Yeah, but both yes and no. We had some classes that were more into the aesthetic way of thinking also. So we had pretty crazy teachers, especially one crazy teacher that I think more was made to make us open up the mind more, not things very like square-ish, to open up and be more free in thinking. So we had that as well, along with the strict theoretical lessons as well. Then we did fun stuff. We could do like musicals in school, so we can try the fun parts of that as well. So
And when you left the music school, and did you make a sort of conscious decision to be a full-time musician?
No, not directly. I started to work, and then I went to art school as well. And there wasn't actually like a hope. You did it because it was fun more. But in Linköping at that time, there were some bands that were coming out, and one big Swedish artist, only known in Sweden, that you could see that came out of Linköping, but not very many people managed. And there were a lot of bands, but it was only on demo level. You play the same places.
Same circuit.
Yeah, so the hopes were not that high at that time. So you tried a lot of other stuff, but then then a couple of years, like 8 years later, stuff happened. There was a big band coming out, and then everybody started to do music in a different way. But it felt back then that there already was something cooking in Linköping. There were a lot of bands that were really trying and were very talented. So
I suppose a lot of kids with a lot of time in their hands sitting in the woods.
Yeah, probably.
Practicing away.
And in the winter it's good because then you don't want to be outside. So but a lot of talent, and then eventually it's sort of stuff happened in Linköping as well. Put it on the map a little with Ghost and stuff like that.
Yeah, and what
other bands as well.
What would be the normal sort of process or route that bands within Sweden would take to build up a reputation and get noticed? What is it? Is it just traveling from town to town doing the circuit, or is it social media, or what works over there?
It's difficult because some artists, they get a great deal at a major label, and then they have a hit on radio and they get famous for 6 months, then they're gone. It's very up and down in those, because you have artists really talented and go up and then down. They get millions of streams, then they are forgotten about, because then it's the next one. So, but I don't know, I think it's easy if you really want to make it in Sweden. You don't have actually any excuses. If you're good and have something to say, then you will be recognized sooner or later, because it's no barriers. If you're dedicated to it, then people will see you. You're gonna get the gigs. You're gonna get to Stockholm, and you're gonna get a gig at the Baser. If you just continue doing it and doing demos and continue to, because you can get gigs at your local joints, and then start from there. So I think it's if there are troubles, it's not probably outside factors. It's about
lack of ambition, because usually they say, for example, over here, like the cream will always rise to the top. So if you're good enough, as you say, you do the graft, you'll get noticed.
What was the wrestler who said that cream always come to the top in the 80s? I think it was I forgot his name. It's an American wrestler. But it's true, because if you keep grinding, it's eventually something's gonna happen. It's easy to say here. I don't know. Other places it probably might be more difficult. It can be difficult here as well, because everybody's doing it. So it's a very the competition can be pretty a lot of people doing it, so consistency could be key as well. They said the years of a tree, when it cut the tree, the years, the rings, amount of that keeps you going up on festivals. If you have your band is consistent enough, and you have your logo in, eventually everybody gonna know your band logo.
Absolutely. I think it's, as you say, consistency and just doing good work, and grafting away, it pays off eventually. What about outlets for your music, like in Sweden? So even with your own sort of genre of music, does the radio play that, or are there certain radio stations which cover that for you?
I think that can be more difficult to get to be played on mainstream radio, or like if you can be played on radio on separate shows. I think you have like we were played on a rock channel once also, but it's not. I think you have to play a certain type of music that are more in line what certain radio channels wanna send out, you know. So if you are a bit off what's popular at the moment, then you probably won't be played. That's gonna be a choice you have to make. We don't have as a goal to take over mainstream radio, but I think if you do a certain type of music, then it won't be a problem to be played. I don't think.
It's just by building an underground cult following for an artist like yourself, then really just have a dedicated fan base.
Yeah, I think so. And use your what if you have a PR that you can use, that doesn't cost too much, then you should use it, because then more people are gonna know about you. For that reason. So if you don't, mostly it's just to get out there and play. I think that's the easiest. Or you find, I heard of this band called Sugar Ray, the American band in the 90s. I think they ran into the record label's entrance and naked, but with only American football helmets on, and then they throw the demo in the trash can, and then they ran out, and they got signed. So you can do something, you know. You can find some ways of being recognized outside of the music as well. For sure. Like you climb on top of a college tower and start shooting. Whatever works for you. They thought Nine Inch Nails were or Marilyn Manson were the root of that kind of evil in the early 90s.
So your own journey then. So like, when did you would you say you started really playing professionally?
Professionally, to get paid, I think I played bass in Ghost was the. Then I could like quit my day job for 2 years. So that would be, but I played mostly shows before that, and you could get paid. So if you consider that professionally, I don't know, but
I know it's hard to define anymore as a musician, isn't it? Because like it doesn't matter. You could be playing 500 shows a year and you still got a job and other sort to support yourself. It's shocking, you know.
You gotta. Most of us that do music have a day job, of course. So it also makes you less desperate to just jump into stuff or like take decisions that you might regret later on. It's good to have like some security, but the goal with this is to eventually cut that down to just do music again. So, and I think we're like 2-3 years away from that if it continues to grow. So then we can probably
focus on it entirely.
And that's the goal. And the goal is to do rock till we drop. And when we drop, I think we want Priest to continue. So we think of it like a 500-year mission. With generations to come in it. So we'll see.
Rebirth again and again.
So we only do some kind of foundation work right now. So hopefully it will hold up.
You touched on the Ghost period. So you were there with roughly about 2 years with the band, were you?
Roughly a little less than 2 years, but they did like 160 shows or something. 150, 160 shows.
And was the band at that time, were they big, or were they just sort of starting to take off?
They had started to take off, but they were starting to get really big. I think it was the period in the band, in Ghost's history, where most stuff happened, and the diversity of the shows, the size of the shows, where it was Rock in Rio one day, then the Double Door in Chicago the other day. It was really surreal. It was, you couldn't really
extreme contrast.
So I think that was the I think still to this date the Rock in Rio show was the by far the biggest show Ghost have ever done to this date. Also, but it was also it was doing a small van tour was the first tour I was on in US, and then there was like a fly-in tour with Iron Maiden and Slayer in Latin America. You know?
Yeah.
So it was really you did it was until after my journey there that I realized what did I do? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure it must be quite surreal, you know, and obviously going from stadium to, you know, small venue, but even just the experience as a musician adapting to playing in different venues.
That was my biggest lesson, I think, in different crowd sizes of the crowds.
Yeah.
And also the first time I was just, it was my 7th show with the band. I played like 6 venues, like 500 cap venues. Then we were on the big stage at the Lollapalooza. So and I haven't and I played the bass. So I started out with a song called Conclave con Dio, which starts with a bass riff. And then I felt the whole stage were like shaking from the bass, and I never felt that before. So I just, Jesus, this was powerful. So that was really fun. But I think the sizes, Double Door Chicago is the 700 cap venue, and it's pretty long and narrow, and that size is I think the biggest you can get, but still feel the connection to everyone in the room. So I think that size is feels the best, because then when it gets bigger, it gets not as personal, and when it gets to real big stages, the people are like, you don't see even the faces of the first row because they're too far away, and security in between and cameras, and so, and you stand like with your in-ears in your own bubble. It feels like you're rehearsing in your living room more than you are on a stage, almost. Not really, but the feeling can be quite similar. So.
And have you always used in-ears, or is that something you just started using when you started playing with the likes of Ghost?
It was in Ghost, because we played with click track, and because we had stuff on the backtracks that have just been synced with the music. So otherwise we rehearsed. When we rehearsed with amplifiers. It sounded a lot better in rehearsal, because it was more gritty and heavier and more. Then when you play on stage, you have like the crisp sound, and you have your monitor mix, and So we don't use in-ears now with Priest, because we don't have to, because everything is in sync anyway. So you can get back, and it's no drummer on stage. You don't have to cover your ears as much, with cymbals and stuff. So.
Okay. And so between the Ghost phase and then Priest, were you doing anything in between?
Recorded some pop songs which I haven't really released. Everyone. So
holding those back for your B-sides.
Oh yeah, maybe or maybe not. It was in Swedish, and I tried to be very poetic, and it turned out that being too heavy on the words doesn't sound that good when you put it into pop music, and that was my big lesson. So now what I learned is to be more simplify the lyrics and make them more clear.
Every day is a school day. That's what we say.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what I did, and finished that, and then we had this project since 2011, which I came up with. Then I asked a singer that I lived in the same collector with, and we tried to do some riffs and stuff. So it was first Priest was another rock band, but then it was more interesting to like do with synthesizers. So we go continue with the masks, because it was you missed that when you have played in a masked band with all the theatrics and stuff. You want to just continue. I didn't want to, the feeling of that being over was quite heavy. So I just want to continue. But you can't do another rock band, and you have to.
You have to mix it up
with something else. So that's why we put in the. I had a long time dream of having a synth band, anyways. So it's fit very well with it. So.
Yeah. And so when in earnest, then I was trying to get some information early on. There was an album released back in 2017, New Flesh. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, that was our.
Yeah, and then Obey 2019 and Cyberhead 2020. So obviously, like the band's been progressing over the past couple of years. How do you feel about the journey that you've been taking so far and where you are now?
It's been a very it's quite bumpy journey. It was like first it was just upward, but then we had some internal troubles in the band, which came up when stress were put on the project. Then you can feel how stuff holds up. You don't know that at first. One member had to go, but then the other member choose to leave as well. So it was one getting fired, one choose to leave. So that was quite hard. So, but we had shows coming up, so we had to do a quick change with 2 new members and some changes of the different tasks in the band. Just to the other choice was to pull the plug of the project, and so we continued with that. That was quite stressful, but then we managed to pull through the everything, and now it feels like we are in a better place than we have ever been in. So now I'm really looking forward to next album release, how people will what they will think about that. And then we also have the new material, which we're actually starting to record the next record after the upcoming one. We're starting next Sunday to record again.
It must be strange as a musical artist, the way that you do sort of work so far in advance, and it must be hard then to be enthusiastic about an album which was written and recorded a year or two ago.
Because even when it was the 3 months
turnaround cycle,
it felt like, okay, now we're done. Then you want to start working on new material, and you've listened to the old materials. You don't want to hear it. You're just waiting for the release. Now, then you had 2 parallel creative, the new music coming out, but you're always writing new music. Now it's like 3. It's like you're waiting for the music coming out. You're writing new music, which you're gonna start record. So you have that ready, but you have
still in the cycle of the first album.
But then you also but you're writing music for not the upcoming album, not the next one, but for 3 albums. So it's no what can you do? But maybe you should think like Egyptians thinks. It should be the same all the time, so it's no changes in the structure. I don't know.
It's got to be tough to juggle for sure. And am I right in saying I saw a press release from 2021 that you'd signed with Cleopatra Records? Is that still the case?
Yes, we signed with them for the next record. We're still in conversation I think they will show up in London. So for the first time to meeting face to face.
Obviously,
So
tough trying to do this during a pandemic. It's just a mess, isn't it?
Yeah. I hope they managed to come down. It would be fun. But we're looking for a long-term, cooperation with them, and we just have to find the right way forward. So everybody's, so it's a win-win situation where everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So.
And how do you find, is it what, I suppose I'm trying to think how to word the question, is the relationship of working with a record label as opposed to doing something independently, how does that benefit you as an artist, or what does that provide for you?
Yeah, we're doing both now because we have our own label in certain areas of the world, and they have other areas. So the best part is like you don't have to think that much about contacting and having a budget for like upfront payment for a large amount of vinyls, and it's stress that comes with that. And contact wise, it's better to have a label. If you don't have all your contacts, like your mail chain or whatever, it's easier to have a label because they already have settled all the contacts, and they can just get stuff out there. Independently it can be tougher, but of course you keep the money, all the money you earn, you can keep a larger sum but it's not about the money. I think it's better to have a record coming out, more people knowing about it, buying it. Then a smaller piece of a larger cake is better than like the whole of a small cakes, I think. And if you can do a win-win where everybody feels happy about the outcome of it over time, then it's perfect. So we're very careful with signing deals. We look them through very thoroughly, and that's I hope every young artist coming out there, like newcomer or whatever, don't sign the first deal. You just, because the first papers sent to you is like, nobody expects you to sign that. You should come with a counter opposition.
Fight your grind.
It's not easy because you don't have anything to set against, so and you really want your music out there, so it's tough. It can be tough.
And it was funny, I was talking to a friend who's a guitar player in a British rock band, and he was just talking about he's producing as well for younger artists, and the importance of not throwing your music immediately onto digital platforms, having a physical release first, so that you're obviously getting some monetary value back from your music before you release it to likes of those. Is that something you've tried to do yourself?
It feels like, if I would have been 20 years younger, I would be so eager to get it out, so I would just probably click those out on YouTube directly. It feels like a thing when you're young and you're eager, you want to do that, but it's better to gather everything and plan it, and then make a release. When you release the video, the song, maybe the album at the same time, maybe have the single out with another video 1 month before or something. Then you really plan your release. That gives, most cases, much bigger impact than if you just release something there. Then nobody gonna buy the album because they know what it sounds like, and and it's better to if you have the stuff ready, send it to print, do a pre-order, build the hype with the pre-order. Then you also get the money to spend on the pressing or whatever, or t-shirt, and then you set the release date. Now you have to set it a year before release, but plan it carefully instead, because it's going to be more fun when the release date comes and you see the difference.
For sure, because it seems like in the modern game anyway, so many albums are geared like 10, 12 single releases, and by the time the album has arrived, everybody's heard the whole album already, you know. And
yeah,
it's a hard balance, because obviously you want to build, as you say, momentum towards the release, but at the same time, you know, you can't give it all away before the album drops.
no, because that's
counterproductive, really.
Yeah, but it's no, I totally agree with you. It's just so difficult right now with the album.
Yeah.
So no, it's but yeah, choose your singles carefully before, you know, the singles should just be like advertisement for the buying the whole album, and then so it's if you think, I think you're coming back to albums now. More and more people getting back to it, like the art form of the album. It's been like too much with separate songs, so that's why I was hesitating a little. It was like, because a couple of years, 5 years ago, okay, release one song every 2 months, then you collect them and do an album. I think that was how you should do it 10. But now it's worth more, you know, to have the piece of art, you know, the artwork, the album, the thought out, you know, song listing, and it's
hard fun as well for the likes of yourself. I can only imagine that as an artist, and you develop or devote so much time, you know, to create everything from the songs, you know, through to the artwork, the packaging, everything that you do. And it's such a disposable world we're in, and somebody may just like dismiss it in a heartbeat before, you know, actually giving it a chance.
I get you, but it's, and you can feel like that, like what are we doing, is it really that important, you know, and who's gonna see it, does anybody care, but then it's some people are gonna care about it, and some people are gonna know more about it eventually than you do. So some people are ready to dig even deeper and analyze stuff that you do, and only for the sake of those people, it's worth it. Then the extra bonus is if many people like it and enjoy it. If it only is for one spin, it's if you listen through one song and you like it, then you probably will put it on again. But and if I really love an album, I listen to it over and over again, and I check the artwork, I go and dive into the lyrics, and I'm just used to that, so I just want to continue creating.
I think we all live in hope that everybody else is just like us as well, and that we all absorb everything that's in front of us.
I think so. But it's the audience for what you do. It's you, right?
Exactly.
You're the one in the audience doing what. If I'm gonna see a band, if I went buy a ticket to see a band, what I want to see and hear, that's probably what you should be doing.
It's pure narcissism, really. You know, we're just looking for a reflection of ourselves.
Yes, probably. I don't know if it's the pure. Probably. Why are we doing this?
So,
but you want to share something as well, you know. You want to share something.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit about your writing process, because obviously I'm sort of fascinated with the type of genre of music. Like, where does it start as far as creating a song?
For me, it starts often with the music, trying, because by trial and error, it's I've done my mistakes when I tried to fit lyrics that doesn't go along with the music, and it doesn't match. It just sounds weird. Half of the job is to find a mood or a feeling that connects with the music. So then if words coming up when you're singing to a instrumental, that's probably where you're gonna start. And sometimes you have ideas from movies, like lyric ideas, And then when you do a piece of music, then you're just, oh, I can fit that movie in here or something. And then you start to, then of course, as many others, I buy a lot of books and poetry, and I don't necessarily read them back to back, but I look for interesting ways of how to make a sentence. And how to, so I steal basically a lot. And then I try to match, because I like to rhyme. So then I have to match the rhyming with, if I have a good stolen sentence, I have to match it myself. So then I push myself to make something that will be maybe not as good, but good enough to match it. And then, but now I think trying to have more fun with the lyrics, just having being more loose about the lyrics, being just a little more comical maybe, and have some not comedy, but try to be more to think a little wider than just to have it everything very serious, you know. Have it a little more loose, you know.
And out of curiosity, with your live performances, with the style of music again compared to, say, a live band with 5 or 6 musicians, is there much variance in the live performance compared to, say, the recorded material?
Yeah, I think you get much more energy live, and you get more bass. You get a more heavy sound live than we use on the albums. Because albums, I think it could be for listening in your, you know, sitting down and listening in your couch, or live shows, rock shows is rock shows, and a lot of more energy, and raw is much more raw and more less effect driven on vocals, and you know, it's more raw live vocals, only with reverb or delay. You know, you're gonna hear it's a more live situation. It's more live, definitely. And it's not gonna sound like we do a lot of changes also in the instrumentals, so you're gonna hear a different thing, but the same songs.
Very good, very good. And you touched on new music coming in 2022. Is that, am I right in saying, is that Body Machine? Is that right?
Yeah, Body Machine is the next album coming up, but due to vinyl delays, which everybody knows is because of Adele's 500,000 order. So we have to wait a couple of more months before the release. It was scheduled for February, but now I think we have to wait until May until we get it in our hands, so we can start sending it out. But then it takes another 4 to 6, maybe 8 weeks to get it out worldwide in stores. So July, sadly enough, early July or late June is.
And by that stage, you'll have your 4th album recorded, working on the 5th.
Yeah, that's good. So, but now I'm just stoked about the Body Machine 2, you know, which that's gonna be the killer. But Body Machine is gonna be really good. A step up from everything else we've done. So I'm really excited about the reception of that one.
And will you be playing the new material on the tour then in the UK and Ireland?
Yes, we're gonna play at least 2 songs, maybe a third unreleased one also.
Okay, well, look, brilliant, man. Like, an absolute pleasure talking to you today. It was great catching up with you, and
thank you, Mark.
Looking forward to seeing you in Belfast. I'll catch you in Belfast myself.
Yeah, definitely. Good talking to you, Mark, and looking forward to seeing you in person.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a reminder, guys, so Priest hit the UK at the end of March, April. Go to priestnexus.com to get information on tickets and dates for the tour. Once again, many thanks for your time today, Mercury.